No one asked for help, no one was waiting to be saved, and somehow, something still showed up. Not the heroes you recognize, not the ones people still believe in, because somewhere along the way, the ones meant to protect everything completely lost control. And when that happens, when the system collapses and no one steps in, something else takes over. What you're about to see looks like a fully produced cinematic sequence. Characters that don't break, scenes that don't fall apart, every frame behaving exactly the way it should. But here's what makes this unsettling. None of it was filmed. No cameras, no actors, no real set. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how this was created and how you can do it yourself. The clip you just watched wasn't filmed. No camera, no actors, no real set. Every frame, every character, every movement generated entirely using AI. But that's not even the most impressive part. The real difference is control. Nothing glitches, nothing randomly changes. The characters stay consistent, the scenes flow naturally, and everything feels like it belongs together, as if it was planned from the start. And that's exactly what you're about to learn. How to create ultra-realistic AI videos that don't fall apart the halfway through. Because until recently, this was where everything broke. Here's what used to happen. You generate images in one tool, then move to another platform to animate them, then switch again to add voice. And somewhere in between, you'd try to fix character inconsistencies that kept ruining the output. And even after all that effort, something still felt off. Faces would subtly change, voices wouldn't match, scenes wouldn't connect properly. It didn't matter how good your idea was, the execution just couldn't keep up. The workflow wasn't just complicated, it was messy. But now, that entire process has been simplified into one single controlled environment. No switching tabs, no broken continuity, no guessing what went wrong. Everything happens in one place. You start by creating a new project and giving it a name. Simple. But what opens next is where things start to feel different. This isn't just another dashboard. It's structured like a real production studio, designed to keep every part of your project organized from the very beginning. And right at the center of it, you'll find two sections that control everything: framing and directing. Framing is where your visuals are created. Directing is where those visuals turn into motion. Now, at first glance, that might sound familiar. Most AI tools offer some version of this, but here's where everything changes. The real advantage isn't just generating images or videos, it's controlling identity. Instead of creating random characters every time, you're working with characters that actually stay the same, from the first frame to the last. And that single shift changes everything. You can either choose from pre-built characters or create your own from scratch. And when you step into the character creation interface, you're not just typing a prompt and hoping for the best. You're in control. You get a dedicated prompt area, but more importantly, you get reference-based control. Two key options define how your character is built: match exactly and inspiration. If you select match exactly, the system locks onto your reference image and keeps the output extremely close to it. This is what ensures strong consistency. But if you choose inspiration, the system starts adding controlled variation, keeping the style flexible while still following your direction. And this is where things get interesting. You're not limited to one reference. You can assign one image for identity and another for style. For example, you can lock a specific face using one reference and then apply the visual style of something completely different using another. The result? A character that looks exactly how you want, but styled in a completely new way. Once your prompt is ready, you don't need to overthink it. You can enhance it automatically, refining the output without leaving the workspace. Everything stays contained, everything stays efficient, and when you generate your character, you'll notice something immediately. Even if there are slight variations, the structure holds. It doesn't break. But here's where most tools usually fail: consistency over time. And that's exactly where the next step changes the game. Instead of relying on a single image, you can generate your character from multiple angles: front, side, different perspectives. This isn't just for visuals. It trains the system to understand your character more deeply, which means when you use this character later, it doesn't drift. It doesn't distort. It stays exactly the way it should. And while that process is running, There's another layer you can lock in: voice. You can assign a specific voice to your character, choosing from different tones, styles, and pitch ranges. And once that voice is linked, it stays consistent across every scene. No mismatches, no sudden changes. Same character, same voice, every time. Now your angles are ready, and if you look closely, everything matches perfectly. No inconsistencies, no surprises. At this point, your character isn't just created, it's production ready. And once you add it back into your project, you're not working with a simple image anymore. You're working with a fully defined entity, complete with structure, appearance, angles, and voice, which is exactly why even longer productions don't fall apart. And using this same process, you can build an entire cast in minutes. What once required casting, planning, and massive budgets now happens in a few controlled steps. But even now, you're only halfway there, because having characters is one thing. Bringing them into a scene that actually feels real, that's where things get even more interesting. Now this is where most creators lose control, because turning characters into actual scenes usually means dealing with a messy workflow, generating a starting frame, then an ending frame, and somehow trying to connect both into motion without everything breaking in between. And most of the time, it does break. Frames don't match. Movements feel unnatural. The entire sequence starts falling apart. But here, the process stays clean. Inside the framing section, you're not guessing what to write. You're guided through it. You can describe the entire scene manually or follow a structured format that helps you define every element clearly. Start with your character. Place them into the scene, then define the location. You can either describe it yourself or select from pre-built environments. And just like characters, locations can also maintain consistency by generating multiple angles, so nothing shifts unexpectedly. Next comes the action. What is your character doing? Simple or complex? It's entirely up to you. Then you define composition, how the frame should look from the viewer's perspective. Close up, back shot, wide cinematic view. You control what the audience sees. After that, you shape the mood, style, colors, emotional tone. This is where your scene starts to feel alive instead of artificial. And then comes the layer that most people don't expect: camera control. You're not just generating an image, you're deciding how it's filmed. Camera angles, shot types, lighting setups, tools that are usually reserved for professional productions are now directly in your hands. Once everything is set, you generate your frame, and within seconds, it's there, clean, structured. Exactly how you described it. You can use the same frame as both the start and end, or create variations depending on how much motion you want. Then you move into directing. This is where everything shifts from static to cinematic. You define the motion, what actually happens in the clip. Then you layer in sound, dialogue, effects, background audio. You control the duration, the camera movement, even the voice assigned to your character. And with one click, the scene comes to life. What's even more important, everything stays organized. Every frame, every version, every shot sits neatly inside a timeline. No clutter, no confusion. And if you want to expand the scene, you simply add another shot. Now here's where it becomes something else entirely. You're not limited to one character anymore. You can bring multiple characters into the same scene, and somehow everything still stays consistent. Their appearance, their positioning, their interaction with the environment, nothing breaks. In most tools, this is where things fall apart completely. Here, it holds, and it doesn't stop there. You can control resolution, aspect ratio, even the type of camera and lens being used. And that might sound like a small detail, but it changes everything. Because now, you're not just generating visuals, you're directing them. Different lenses create different emotions. Different camera setups completely change how a scene feels. And with that level of control, you're no longer limited by the tool. You're only limited by your ideas. So if you step back and look at the full process, you build characters, you lock their identity, you place them into consistent environments, you design structured frames, you control motion, sound, and camera behavior, all inside one system. No chaos, no disconnect, no compromises. And that's exactly how the sequence you saw earlier was created. Shot by shot, with complete control. Now here's the real question. If something like this can be built without cameras, without actors, without a full production team, then what's actually stopping you? Because at this point, it's not about tools anymore. It's about whether you're willing to create. So don't just watch this and move on. Try it. Experiment with it. Break it. Improve it. Build something that feels so real. People question if it even is. And if you want to keep learning how to push this even further, don't disappear after this video. Stay connected, because the next thing you create might not just look real. It might feel unstoppable. Now, if this sparked even a single idea in your mind, don't let it fade here. Hit like so more creators discover this. Share it with someone who needs to see what's coming next, and subscribe so you don't miss what we build after this.